We're going to start with the two poems by William Blake on page 963. I have no idea why I had in the syllabus 904 for the lamb, because the lamb and the tiger are both on 963. These poems are, Blake publishes in two little books that he titles The Songs of Innocence and Songs of Experience. The lamb is in Songs of Innocence and tiger is in Songs of Experience. Little lamb, who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee? Gave thee life and bid thee feed by the stream and o'er the mead. Gave thee clothing of delight, softest clothing, woolly bright. Gave thee such a tender voice, making all the vales rejoice. Little lamb, who made thee? Dost thou know who made thee? Notice the sing-song rhyme and rhythm of this poem. Little lamb, I'll tell thee, little lamb, I'll tell thee. He is called by thy name, for he calls himself a lamb. He is meek and he is mild, he became a little child. I a child and thou a lamb, we are called by his name. Little lamb, God bless thee, little lamb, God bless thee. Is the speaker talking about a lamb? Or addressing a lamb? A real, out in the field lamb. No, he's addressing a child. Okay? So the speaker asks, do you know who made you? Gave you life, bid thee feed by the stream, over the mead? Yeah, literal surface level, it is talking about a lamb. Gave thee clothing of delight. What kind of clothing? Softest clothing, woolly bright. Gave thee such a tender voice, the little buying in the field, etc. He's called by thy name. So who is the he? It's not the lamb. He is called by thy name, for he calls himself a lamb. Who calls himself a lamb? Well, in John's Gospel, John the Baptist sees Christ coming to be baptized. And he says, behold the Lamb of God, who comes to take away the sins of the world. Okay? That's who that's referring to. It's Christ. He is called by thy name. He's the sacrificial lamb, so to speak. He is meek, he is mild, he became a little child. Christmas. I a child, thou a lamb. We are called by his name. That is, all kind of good little Christians. All right? Or, Christians are supposed to be like lambs. Christ said, be like a lamb. Don't be like the wolves. And beware of wolves in sheep's clothing. Okay? So, what's the tone of that poem? Is there anything sinister? Anything negative? Anything dark? Anything fearful? No. It's light and fluffy. It's beautiful and sunny like the sky today. It's in the Songs of Innocence. Describe innocence. Innocent doesn't merely mean the absence of guilt. So what does it mean? If you describe a child, a baby, as innocent, what are you saying about that baby? Or a kitten, or a puppy, if you don't want to deal with human brats.
Haven't done anything like
It's good, it hasn't done anything,
without blemish.
it's without blemish, it's pure, okay? Innocent, it doesn't have any deceit, okay? Now look at the tiger. Almost the same number of syllables in both of these poems, that is, in each line, okay? They're generally about 7 syllables to the line, but totally different rhyme and rhythm. Tiger, tiger, burning bright, in the forests of the night. What a mortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? It's not quite a perfect rhyme, it's an off rhyme. Symmetry or symmetry. In what distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? What the hammer, what the chain? In what furnace was thy brain? What the handle, what dread grasp dare its deadly terrors clasp? When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamb make thee? Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night, what a mortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry or symmetry? Okay? So notice the first poem, The Lamb, is written in 2 long stanzas. The second poem is written in quatrains. Okay? Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night. How does a tiger burn in the forest? Are we talking, Disney's Mowgli, where Shere Khan gets its tail lit on fire running? No, it's not that. So how does a tiger burn in the forest? If I thought about this, I don't think I can access it from here. I could, it'd just take a while. I've got a picture of a tiger's eye that I took a couple of years ago. My family went to, my eldest daughter was teaching English in the Czech Republic. And so we went for Christmas to visit her. And they've got a fantastic zoo in Prague. And I've got a photograph that I took of a tiger. It's behind its fencing or whatever. I've got a pretty good camera, and I zoomed in on the eye. And it's almost like the eye is glowing. Okay? Is that what's being referred to? Is it the tiger's pelt? The pattern on its fur? What a mortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? Why is a tiger's form, its shape, fearful? Or let me put it this way. Compare the lamb and the tiger. If I were to tell you, and I wasn't lying, and you literally believed me, that right outside this door, there's a lamb, what would you think? Cool. Big deal, cool, But if I were to tell you there's a Bengal tiger, you're free to go. Yeah. Nobody would leave. Why? We kind of assume man-eating. Not all tigers are man-eating. That's kind of a rarity. When they eat humans, it means something's gone on with the ecosystem that, or humans have, abused them or something. Okay? So notice what the speaker says about the shaper of the tiger. What immortal hand or eye? Why? Immortal obviously means what?
Doesn't die.
Can't die. So only an immortal can make the tiger. It's kind of because once the tiger's made, it can turn around and bite. Again, this is in the Songs of Experience. In what distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eye? Speaker is suggesting there's not fiery enough on earth to create the fire in a tiger's eye. The glow. Have you ever seen it? I used to have a black cat and had a front door with glass panels in it. And that black cat would love to just come sit at the front door, get up on its hind legs, paws in the glass, and look. Because the light from in the house reflecting off that cat's eyes all you'd see is two orange orbs. Nothing else, because the cat was pitch black. And there's just two glow. That's the idea. Okay? On what wings dare he aspire? What the hand dare seize the fire? Why would the Creator need wings? Okay? Blake is possibly alluding here to the Greek myth of Prometheus. What did Prometheus do? Stole fire from the gods. The first human to use/create fire. How? Stole it from the gods. So the gods punish him for eternity for that. Okay? That's why he has to have wings. And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? What does that mean? What shoulder? To twist the sinews. What is sinew? Muscle. It's muscle. Okay? So why do you need shoulder to twist muscle? Have you ever heard the phrase, put your shoulder into it? What's it mean? Come on, work. It's hard. You can't push a car simply by going up like this. Well, I guess, if you're Superman or something. But most people can't, or you're driving a stupid little smart car or a Prius or a joke car, but not a real car, not a real, 1950s all metal car. What do you have to do? You got to really get down and get your shoulder into it and push. Okay? So the speaker is suggesting there is something about the tiger that requires what? All of your force, all of your strength. Okay? But it also requires art. Not art, Rembrandt, Leonardo da Vinci. Art means what? Skill. Technique. Craft. Okay? What shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart began to beat, why? Because when the tiger is created, it's not automatically beating. But it's like, once the tiger is ready, notice what that's like. It's like hammer on an anvil. What dread hand, that's the, and what dread feet. The feet, it's not these things. It's not the tiger's paws. It's like a poetic foot, a stressed and an unstressed syllable. That's the stress, that's the unstressed. Your heart does that. Boom, 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 boom. What the hammer? What the chain? What chain? Well, it's a metaphorical chain about the tiger. What the hammer, what the chain, in what furnace was thy brain? So it's like the tiger is being forged out of metal. What the anvil, what dread grasp, dare its deadly terrors clasp? It's not the deadly terrors of the tiger's clasp, but of the person, the creator, forming this thing. When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? What is the stars throwing down their spears? That's the rebellion in heaven. That's Satan. Okay? Throwing down their spears, being thrown out of heaven, probably. So, and watered heaven with their tears. That's the sadness in heaven at the fall of Lucifer and his angelic hordes. According to kind of church commentary based on the book of Revelation, A third of the angels in traditional Christian theology fell with Satan. Okay? Did he smile his work to see? Who's the he? It's God. When Satan and his followers fell, did God smile? Was God pleased? Now, probably Blake has in mind, I think, another poet who wrote, this is 1794, who wrote about 130 years prior to this, John Milton, big long poem, 10 books originally, then expanded to 12 if I remember correctly, called Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost was exactly what it sounds like. It was about the fall of Adam and Eve. Okay? Milton, at first he wasn't sure what he was going to write about. He thought about writing a poem about the history of the world. Thought about writing a poem about the history of Britain, King Arthur and stuff. And he kind of, he started small and kept getting bigger, 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 bigger. And he finally decided, yeah, this will be a good epic. I'll write about the fall. I mean, it's the biggest story, the greatest conflict you can write about. In Paradise Lost, it opens, essentially, with Satan and his followers chained in the fiery lake of hell, okay, that Revelation alludes to. And, like I said, it's a big, long book. I mean, it's literally, it's like this thick, okay? One poem, really, really long. And there's a scene where, Satan and his henchmen are down there, and their faces are like this, squished on the lake, and they're going, yes, if only we could get out, boy, we'd get back at God. And then it's like, meanwhile, back in heaven, and God looks down at him, and he smiles. He just smiles, doesn't say anything. He just smiles. And the smile confers upon Satan the ability to get up off the lake. So everything throughout the poem, everything Satan does, he's able to do because God allows him to do it. So, going back here, Blake, by the way, Blake said that Milton, as he put it, was secretly of the party of Satan. That is, Milton secretly, that is deep down in his guts, he really liked Satan. Why? Satan gets all the best lines. Read Paradise Lost sometime. Read a paraphrased version of it. The guy just has the greatest speeches. I mean, he rouses his troops like nobody else can. But Milton also portrays him at one point, right after the temptation, or just before he gets Eve to bite the apple. He's reduced to a toad. And he's watching Adam and Eve have sex. He's a peeping Tom. What a pervert. Think of what the word perversion literally means, It's a breaking away from the ideal, the whole, etc. Okay? So, when heaven was watered with their tears, did he smile his work to see? I think he's alluding back, possibly to that scene in Paradise Lost. Is this really what God's all about? Did he who made the lamb make thee? And the speaker's kind of saying, how in the world could that be possible? Because the lamb, it's a soft, little, fuzzy lamb that goes, meh, and it doesn't walk. It bounces. It's cute. It's fluffy. And the tiger what? Eats the little lamb if the lamb comes near it. Innocence? What does the lamb think of the tiger? Ooh, great. Nice play. And what does the tiger think? Lunch. Okay? Did he who made the lamb make thee? Why is this a poem of experience? Pre-fall, post-fall. Not fall, winter. Adam and Eve in the garden. Before the corruption of Adam and Eve. After. Because, according to quote-unquote scriptural accounts and writings of the church fathers and stuff, what was the relationship of humanity to the natural world in the Garden of Eden? When Adam, so-called, had been afraid of a tiger. Nope. You get a passage in Isaiah where Isaiah says, when everything is restored, the lion shall lie down with the lamb and will eat straw like the lamb. It won't eat the lamb. Post Garden of Eden, okay? Humanity is afraid of tigers. Tigers are afraid of humanity. Bears are afraid of people. People are afraid, smart people are afraid of bears. Stupid people go, come here, little bear, let me feed you something. And the bear eats the hand and the arm and, everything else. Been chased by bears before. It's not fun. Okay? So, that's kind of what is going on there. Innocence, experience. Turn from there to, we'll be done early today, by the way. Turn from there to 1240. Quite a different kind of poem. This is Christopher Marlowe's Passionate Shepherd to His Love. Marlowe was somewhat a contemporary of Shakespeare's.
What page you say?
1240. Died in 1593. So just as Shakespeare was starting, wrote a lot of poetry that survives, wrote some plays. And this is one of the love poems that he writes. This is what's called a pastoral poem. Why? It's set in nature, and all the imagery is natural. Right? Rocks, rivers, streams, birds, flowers, etc. Come live with me and be my love, and we will all the pleasure prove, that valleys, groves, hills, and fields, woods or steepy mountain yields. He's a hippie. He's like a 1960s hippie. Let's go off to Woodstock, minus all the rock music, And we will sit upon the rock, seeing the shepherds feed their flocks by shallow rivers to whose falls melodious birds sing madrigals. And I will make thee beds of roses, and in 1,000 fragrant posies, a cap of flowers and a kirtle embroidered all with leaves of myrtle. A gown made of the finest wool, which from our pretty lambs we pull. Fair lined slippers for the cold, with buckles of the purest gold. A belt of straw and ivy bud, with coral clasps and amber studs. And if these pleasures may thee move, come live with me and be my Louvre. They rhymed in Shakespeare's day, or Marlowe's day. So, before we do the final stanza, what's the speaker saying? Come live with me. Okay? Is it like any other poems we've read so far? Have elements that are similar to? Had we but whirled enough in time, this coyness lady were no crime. Marvelle's To His Coy Mistress. Okay? The change, however, is this one doesn't emphasize, like Marvelle's poem is, the carpe diem aspect. Marvelle's poem is set in the natural world. like this one. But in that poem, the speaker is saying, let's have sex now. Why? Because tomorrow we're going to be dead. Speaker here? Come live with me. Where? Out there in the natural world. And what? It's almost like he says we'll live forever. We'll have everything we need. Don't worry about the future. Don't worry about bills, finances, etc. We can do what? He says, we will all the pleasure prove that valleys, groves, hills, fields, woods, or steepy mountain yields. Prove there means try, test. Okay? So, we'll live in the woods, we'll live in the hills, we'll live in the mountains, we'll live in the valleys. We'll wander and live all natural lives. Sometimes we'll sit on the rocks and do what? We'll watch the shepherds. Other times, by shallow rivers, we'll listen to birds sing. I'll make you a bed of roses. Now, the implication is rose petals, right? Not the thorny branches. And posies. I'll give you a cap of flowers, a shirt made out of myrtle. You'll have a gown made of finest wool. Notice how they get the wool, which from pretty lambs we pull. They're not going to do what? Skin the lambs. Why? This is, again, the imagery is this is kind of before the fall. It's innocent. It's the world is perfect. Okay? Fair-lined slippers for the cold. Slippers. A gown made of wool. Would that really have worked yesterday, last night, this morning in New England? I mean, parts of New England had over a foot of snow last night already. Okay? This year, by the way, is supposed to be a long, cold, heavy snow winter for the southeast. Okay? As well as for the northeast. Belt of straw, ivy buds. If these pleasures may thee move, that is, if they will make you agree to this, if they move thee, if they draw you, come live with me and be my love. It's a pretty big if, right? The shepherd swains, young men, shall dance and sing for thy delight each May morning. Why May morning? Well, because mornings are pretty temperate usually in May. So what's the speaker saying? Baby, come live with me in what? It'll be perpetually late spring. We won't have any problems at all. Our lives will be filled with bliss and innocence. For thy delight each May morning, if these delights thy mind may move, then live with me and be my Louvre. Okay? It's a romantic poem. He's coming on to his girlfriend. Come on, let's go shack up. But it's not shacking up. Let's go out and live in the woods, you know. Like I said, total be hippie children, so to speak. Now turn to 1362. 1362 is a response to that poem. Okay? A whole bunch of people wrote responses to Kit Marlowe's poem. We've read a poem by John Donne, Valediction Forbidding Mourning. Donne also writes a reply to Marlowe's The Passionate Shepherd to His Love. Donne's reply is titled The Bait. I think it's in your book. So this is Walter Raleigh's response. Okay? You had that happen a lot during the Renaissance, during the period when Shakespeare wrote. Somebody would write a witty poem, and somebody else would go, oh yeah, and respond to it. So, notice, the first one was titled The Passionate Shepherd to His Love. Passionate, full of love. This is the nymph's reply. Now, a nymph is like a minor goddess. Okay? But if you remember Hamlet, Hamlet says to Ophelia, "In thy orisons, fair nymph, be my sins remembered." He calls her a nymph. Okay? So a nymph is a young woman. The nymphs replied to the shepherd, "If all the world and love were young, in truth, in every shepherd's tongue, these pretty pleasures might me move to live with thee and be thy love." So what has she just said?
I think that was a different time.
Okay. Go back to his for a moment. "Come live with me, be my love, and we will all the pleasure prove. Valleys, rocks, etc. We'll sit on the rocks. I'll make thee beds of roses. Finest gown made of finest wool, etc. If all the world and love were young, and truth in every shepherd's tongue." Okay, now I said that the passionate shepherd is kind of describing the world as this. Perfect, it's innocent. What is she saying? No, it's not. If the world and love were young. Well, in the Renaissance, they didn't think the world was young. They thought the world was on its proverbial last leg. That the sun was old and tired and worn out. Right? And love. Remember to the virgins to make much of time, where the speaker says, when youth and blood are warmer, that's the better time. Okay? Well, love, this speaker is suggesting, isn't young. So what does that mean? It's not as strong. If all the world and love were young, and truth in every shepherd's tongue. So even if you could accept the world is young and love is young, truth in every shepherd's tongue, these pretty pleasures might me move to live with thee and be thy love. Now the speaker doesn't do what Marvelle's speaker does in To His Coy Mistress. But at my back I always hear time's winged chariot drawing near. That's what Marvelle's speaker does. Here, the respondent says, time drives the flocks from field to fold. When? When do you drive a flock? If you're a shepherd, when do you drive your flock from the field to the fold, the little enclosed space? Nighttime? When else? Bingo. Before winter. Why? Because they're not going to survive if they're out there grazing in the pastures during the winter. One reason, they won't have any food. The food is locked up in the barn that gets taken to the fold, the pasture, the enclosed pasture. Okay? So, time drives the flocks from field to fold. It's not going to be a May morning every day with you. When rivers rage and rocks grow cold. Why do rivers rage? Increased rainfall, snow melt, etc. And Philomel, that is the nightingale who sang, becometh dumb. Why does Philomel become dumb? Fly south. The rest complains of cares to come. What's the rest? Kind of like the rest of your poem. Complains? It's merely about, when it's not warm anymore, you're going to have problems tomorrow, and you're going to have problems the day after that, and problems the day after that, etc. The flowers do fade. What flowers? That nice bed of roses? Yeah, well, what happens when the roses stop producing flowers? Then what are you going to sleep on? Cold, dry, hard ground. And wanton fields to wayward winter reckoning yields. Wanton, left to riot. Why? Because people don't go out and till the fields during the winter. They don't go out and care for it. A honey tongue. What does that mean? Smooth talker. Really close. Replace the smooth. Honey. A sweet talker. That is someone whose words, oh man, they sound good. Think of a politician. We've had, I gotta take that. I was gonna say we've had one. You've had one in your lifetime. I've had a few in my lifetime. I'm thinking of two in particular. Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. Oh, sweet talkers. That is, sounded really good. I'm not saying anything else about it. I'm not applying anything else that's in the poem to them. I'm just saying really smooth talkers. George Bush, not a smooth talker, tripped over his tongue. Donald Trump can barely put a sentence together. Okay, it seems. He gets his point across, don't get me wrong. But it's not, necessarily grammatically correct, subject, verb, object kind of thing. Okay? A honey tongue, a heart of gall. What's gall? It's bitter, like vinegar. So, sweet and sour. But not like Chinese sweet and sour. That tastes good. What's it mean? Sounds really good coming out, but what's the real motivation? What is this speaker suggesting the other speaker really wants? The exact same thing the speakers of the two poems by Robert Herrick and Andrew Marvell want. To the virgins to make much of time. Use your prime while ye may go marry. Why? Because if you don't use it now, ye may forever tarry. Okay? That's to the virgins to make much of time. What about to his coy mistress? Let me sleep with you. Why? Because if you don't, it's going to be worms in your vault. A honey tongue, a heart of gall is fancy's spring. Fancy's spring. Spring meaning both like the beginning of the year. It's the opening. What does spring usually look like? What does the natural world do? Gets colorful. It brightens up. It's like it goes on steroids on colors, man. It's like the world takes an LSD trip. It's just, colors everywhere. For what purpose? According to the speaker, it's to draw me in. That is, your sweet words are like all those colors. To draw me in. And if I get drawn in, if I get suckered in, then what happens? Then I suffer sorrow's fall. Why? Because spring goes to summer, which leads to fall. If I take this sweet word, what will it result in? Fall. Sorrow. Thy gowns, thy shoes, thy beds of roses, thy cap, thy kirtle, and thy posies soon break, soon wither, soon forgotten. Okay, forgotten because they're going to rot and fall apart. In folly, right, folly, foolishness, right. Oh, it looks really good at the beginning. In reason, that is, if I think about your offer rationally, they're what? Rotten. Well, that's a stupid thing. Why would I go live with you if you're only going to give me clothes made out of plants? Or sleep on rose petals, when those rose petals are just going to rot and disintegrate, and then I'm going to be sleeping on the cold, hard ground. Thy belt of straw and ivy buds, thy coral clasp and amber studs, all these in me no means can move, to come to thee and be thy love. But, now we get the but. That comes a lot earlier in Marbelle's poem. Could youth last? And it can't, right? It can't. That's impossible. But could youth last and love still breed if you could be forever young and love still, meaning continuously, constantly breed, then what? Had joys no date, that is, no ending, nor age no need, then these delights my mind might move, to live with thee and be thy love. If we could be forever young and always love each other, okay, the first one can't, second one it's applied, you'll cheat on me. If joys could last always, and if we never got old, yeah, then I'd live with you. So what's the speaker just said? F off, buddy. You know, I'm not gonna. You think I'm so shallow? I'm gonna fall for that? Okay? That's why I said, you know, this is a response. This is Raleigh going, that's pretty good, Kit. Marlowe's nickname was Kit. Christopher Marlowe's nickname. It's pretty good, Kit. Here, how do you like this? Okay. And so he writes this little reply. Okay, we will stop there. For Monday, we have She Walks in Beauty. I'm going to bring a handout for midterm break, and then 2 other sonnets by John Donne. Have a good weekend.